Good evening, everyone. This is Karen Donovan with another episode of the GNW Show, trying to put a smile on your face and some fun in the rest of your week with a few tips thrown in. Tonight, we're thinking about all of the changes, challenges, and opportunities that we all face on a daily basis. What is your perspective on life? Check this out. Hey everybody, this is Karen Donovan in our segment Strategies for a Happy Life. We have one of our contributors, a behind the scenes contributor, has joined us today, and that's Mr. Joe Donovan. Because we're talking about perspective on life, and Joe had some interesting perspective on perspectives. You know, we all meet with challenges, changes, and opportunities in our life, right? A lot of times it's just how you frame it that causes you to look at something in one way or another. Am I right, Joe? Does that ring a bell with you? Talk to us about talk to us about
happy life when you're married.
Talk to us about perspective.
Perspective. Well, perspective, it's all in how you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective actually comes from two Latin words, per meaning through, and specto. Spectator comes from that, which is to see. So it's seeing through something. And perspective actually is describes, for instance, the artistic technique of making something appear to be far away.
Right.
Notice, though, I did say making something appear to be far away, and that's an important point. That the perspective that you choose either to create or to accept is a distortion by definition of whatever reality is.
Interesting.
I think to me, it's always important to ask myself, where am I taking this perspective from? Am I creating the perspective, or is somebody else giving me the perspective? Who's providing the frame for the picture? And by definition, if I put a frame on something, I'm eliminating a major part of the context in which that picture or idea appears.
How
So that's
so?
always a question of perspective. To me, anyway.
Interesting. So what do you do when you have a tendency to always put that same frame around things and look at things the same way?
What I try to do is I try to change my perspective and look at something from several different perspectives. I also ask other people how they see things and don't jump to a conclusion that they don't know what they're talking about, because I've been in that situation myself many times. Or I didn't know what I was talking about until somebody else reframed the perspective. By the way, I'm open to comments if somebody disagrees.
Of course, I'm sure the audience will have some comments about their perspective on life, because everybody's perspective is different. I mean, that's what the whole dialogue is about in the country right now is, you know, what is your perspective about things?
Good point. Yeah. You know, if I could piggyback off that thought, struck me was we've all seen the picture in a stained glass of a window. Beautiful pictures in stained glass. Years ago, when you had a little more time to develop art that the common people could look at, like, you know, in churches, and you still can see some of the old churches where they haven't taken out stained glass, but every piece of glass it's a different perspective. There's a different frame, it's a different shape, it has a different color. But what happens is when you put all of those pieces together and you look at them dispassionately and see the big picture, they all come together. And depending on the artist, or depending on your perspective, they can make a very beautiful picture.
Mm.
And so
Even
that's how I look
though
at
each
things.
one is very different.
Like the stained glass in a mirror, in a stained glass window. It gives a picture. Sometimes a face emerges, sometimes a thing, you know. I think what I'm talking about.
Interesting. So even though each little piece of the stained glass is very, very different, just like all of us are very, very different, when we put it all together, it comes out to be something more. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, would you say?
It appears to be so, doesn't it? When you look at a beautiful stained glass picture.
So what about on perspective, being able to control, like I said in the beginning, the challenges and changes and opportunities that come along in our lives? How would philosophers or great scientists frame that as being able to control those things that come along in our daily life?
Well, there are things I can control and you can control in our lives and things that we can't. It's kind of fun sometimes to sit down and think about how many things I can't control and how many of those things I spend my time being agitated about and hollering at my TV screen or screaming at the radio in the car, when actually I have absolutely no control over those things. But I do have control over one thing. I can control what I'm thinking and the thoughts in my mind. And so that's what I have control over. So how I react to things, my responses, my feelings, I don't even really have control over the initial feeling. But I do have control over the thought, of the thinking, or what I dwell on, or the perspective that I choose, or the lens that I choose to see that fact. Although some people say there are no facts, again, that's a perspective. But how I see that event, or how I hear that, how I hear that statement, how I interpret it. And so I have control over one thing that does control my actions. And that's what's in my mind, what I'm thinking, how I choose to think, how I choose to judge things, if at all. Or whether I'm capable of letting some things just go by and accepting them, because I have absolutely no control over it at that time. But that's just what works for me. It may not work for someone else.
Well, I mean, they have that saying, go with the flow. So.
Well, unless they're going down the drain.
This is true. Yep, that's right. But sometimes, I guess sometimes we can't control if we're going down the drain either. I mean, there have been those unfortunate times in your life when you see the drain approaching imminently, and there is nothing you can do. I mean, an accident, something happens, But then, how many people? I mean, the other day I saw a lady who had been. It was at a supermarket, and kids had pushed a shopping cart over the wall, and it landed on her, and she was like totally injured, brain injuries, a whole bunch of stuff, and she went on to recover after several years, I think, and began a program to help other people who had been in that same situation or similar. So, I mean, talk about reframing, right?
Sometimes you don't have any choice about reframing, I guess.
Mm.
But and if you're going down the drain, I guess you could kind of ruin your happiness by asking, how did I get in this position? Because there's nothing you can do about it. So at that point, if it was me, I would just hold my breath and hope for the best on the other end.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that took an interesting turn. I mean, you can go in so many different directions with perspective, but I thought it was a cool topic to, get into because of the fact that there are so many ways to.
What's funny is it proved that we just had the experience of kind of going with the flow and being in the flow, and then suddenly finding your show going down the drain.
But my show never goes down the drain, Joe, because it just comes out the other side of the looking glass.
Because you hold a big happiness air balloon, it'll pull you right up again.
Well, folks, that's our little take on perspective tonight. And as we always try to look at some type of a strategy to help those who have joined us or have catch our show on YouTube or Facebook Live, that they too will pick up a strategy or two for a happy life. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye. Has your perspective changed on anything about your life? Maybe that's something that you will consider. I also had a big change in my perspective this week on something that we're going to be talking about on our product reviews for you. Karen Donovan here, and what started out to be a product review actually is turning into a bit of a diatribe on the supply chain issue crisis that the global economy is having. Now, I personally did not think too much about that. As you know, I do inspirational videos and try to help people to have a happy life, and do real estate corner related to, houses and things in houses and fixing up and stuff like that. But what happened was this: I ordered a little tube of this special glue. I forget. I'm going to tell you the name in a second because I'm going to show it to you. But it was 6,000 because I broke my plastic glasses, and this kind of glue, like crazy glue, doesn't work on the plastic. It doesn't stick. Like I would stick the piece back on the glasses and it would fall right off. And then I found out that I needed a special kind of glue. So anyway, what happened was I ordered the glue on Amazon, like I order everything else. And when I put it up on the screen, to tell me when it was delivered, which I thought, oh yeah, I'll get it in a couple of days, whatever. It said it'll be coming from China and you will get it in a month and a half. So anyway, the month and a half has passed, and guess what? I got my glue. Now I would like to show you how I got my glue and how this relates to the supply chain shortage crisis that has been caused by the pandemic. Now, apparently, as you probably all have heard on the news, because of the pandemic, they stopped producing, certain factories all over the world stopped producing things because workers couldn't go to work. They were getting sick with the virus and so on and so forth. Then that went to, so there was no products. That's why, we got worried and everybody grabbed all the toilet paper and the paper towels and everything else in the store. Okay, so then what happened was then the production started again. So now they've got all this backlog of all the goods, and then and I'm telling this in a layman's way, I'm like not an expert in any way, shape, or form on this subject. So correct me if I'm wrong. And then what happens from there is then the transportation, like you heard, the port in Los Angeles where it has to go 24 hours a day because of the backlog in the shipping. Okay, so that all got backlogged. And so now the things are here, some of them, but on top of everything else, now it's the holiday time and there's an increased demand. So this thing is like snowballing, okay? So anyway, I got my product delivered and it came like this. Now, if you can see, it sort of looks like styrofoam, like, if you would get like a sort of a temperature sensitive thing, like in the mail that you didn't want to get melted or frozen or something. So I got this styrofoam then I cut it open, okay, and it's like, check this out. I don't know if you can see this, but it's little layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers of styrofoam. And someone in China took their tape and they wrapped it all around this whole thing and then put the label on. And then now watch this, check this out, it gets better. Inside the styrofoam, they cut out one section that would hold something. Now I have to be careful I don't cut myself, and I'll tell you why in a second. This is crazy. All right, now see this? Do you know what this is? This is sheet metal. Sheet metal, like that you would use to put as a wet drip cap on your over your window or something, or I don't know, builders use sheet metal. I don't know, I'll have to look into that. Anyway, inside of the sheet metal, taped in there was my glue. Look. Oh, upside down, sorry. B6000 glue. This is the glue that I need to glue my glasses, my plastic glasses that I got from CVS. Anyway, now, can you imagine how much? Okay, so why did they do this? I mean, this had to have taken an awfully long time. Why did they do that? Because they don't have any boxes. There's no boxes. We have no boxes. So now we have no toilet paper, no paper towels. Well, Amazon still has boxes in the United States, but apparently China does not have any boxes. Folks, we are in serious trouble. I really think I was living in a bubble. We were in serious trouble. I think I was living in a bubble. I don't know what's going on with this whole thing or how much worse it's going to get, but if you get a package that's styrofoam wrapped up with tape and with a piece of sheet metal inside with your product in it, you know we've got serious issues. So I just want to bring this to your attention. Tell me what you think. I really am seriously beginning to think we should all be concerned about what's going on, because now I don't want to have a bad perspective on what's going to happen, but I think we should at least be prepared, because things are definitely changing when they don't have boxes to ship stuff and they ship it in styrofoam and sheet metal. So that's my kind of product review on B6000 glue in an odd kind of a way, but I'm sure it'll work on my glasses. I will let you know. Thanks. So there you have it, folks. Our interesting discovery. You never know what you're going to run into in a day's time. And now, last but certainly not least, the segment that you all have been waiting for, without further ado. So how smart are you on a question, a trivia question about perspective? You've watched the show. Maybe you'll figure out the answer. Who knows? So you say to me, Karen, how do I participate in this little trivia question contest? How do I get the question ahead of time? Well, you got two choices. You can either sign up for our weekly Monday morning wake-up call, in which case our newsletter will give you an official entry form and you can make your best guess and enter into the contest. Or if you like, you can participate by answering on the chat if you are on Facebook Live, or the comments if you're on YouTube Live. And I will know that you are very, very intelligent and that your intelligence about perspective is phenomenal. So here, without further ado, is the question for this week. There's an optical instrument that allows you to see colorful shapes and sizes in an unending combination of patterns each time you turn it. What is the name of that optical instrument? A, telescope. B, gyroscope. C, kaleidoscope. Or D, periscope. Okay. So I would like to know if you know the answer. So let's have a drum roll and see who figured it out. Okay. The answer is that optical instrument that you used as a child. And you could turn it and see all the pretty colors, and it looked like a stained glass window, a mosaic, and then it would change into something else. And that, my dear friends, is C, a kaleidoscope.
So if you guessed C, then you are very intelligent. If you too would like to join in our contest next week, don't forget to send me an email at Karen@homesbydonovan.com, and I'll be glad to send you a free copy of our newsletter on Monday morning to wake you up, as well as an opportunity to play in our trivia and get some interesting and fun-filled tips to start off your week. Well, I hope you enjoyed this evening's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to stay safe and make it a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.
It's the Good News Wednesday show. Come on, kids, it's time to roll. Tell everybody that you know. Watch the Good News Wednesday show. Good News Wednesday's finally here. Let's stand up and give a cheer.